Hello, viewers. Today we are discussing a very critical part of our fundamental rights segment, that is, right to freedom of religion, which is protected through Article 25 to 28 of our written Constitution of India. India has witnessed numerous instances of communal violence throughout its history. In the light of this recurrent episodes of sectarian conflict, it is crucial to comprehend the fundamental importance of religious freedom enshrined in the Indian Constitution. And to begin with, India being a multi-religious society, the religious freedom as depicted in Article 25 to 28 reflects India's deep commitment to pluralism and secularism. Article 25 to 28 is a suitable testament to proclaim that India is a secular country. Now, why should India be a secular country? India deserves to be a secular country. India qualifies to be a secular country because, look, four major religions of the world, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, they actually originated in Indian soil, collectively called dharmic religion. Now, in face of all this multi-religion that exists in India, India can't be a theocratic state. So it's very clear that India opted for secular country, secular state, but the definition of India's secularism is a little bit different from Western conception of secularism. Now, how do we define India's secularism in one line? The answer is the Indian secularism neither promotes nor discriminates against any religion. Before we engage in article-wise discussion, let's quickly look at some major takeaways from the provision of religious freedom as found in Indian Constitution. First, in Indian secularism, there's a slight departure from Western negative notion of complete separation of state and religion. First thing that we need to understand is this one. So, what is India's version of secularism then? India defines secularism as equal respect for all religion. The word all is made colored and bold because it includes both majority and minority religion in India. The first point to be understood is this one. Second is Indian secularism guarantees individual and also collective religious freedom. That is the second point. And the third takeaway is that it is not absolute or unrestrained. The right to freedom is subject to public order, morality, and health. So these three, public order, morality, and health, are even more important than religious freedom in India. The fourth is state can reform, or in other words, state can interfere in religious practice for social welfare. Another important thing is that may overshadow the importance of religious freedom is social welfare. And finally, the religious freedom needs continuous reinterpretation in the light of contemporary challenges. So these are some major takeaways from the provision of religious freedom. Now, as you can see, the religious freedom of India is very comprehensively covered under 4 articles. But the most important thing for the aspirant is how do we remember these articles during examination. So to assess the aspirant in their examination, I have tried using some keyword for each articles. The first article number 25, which is individual rights. So the rights which the Constitution has provided to you and me. So this is article number 25, article number 25, you just remember individual. The keyword for this article is individual. It discusses about individual-based religious rights. Now this next article number 26 is the group rights. So religious denomination, if you have one, this article 25 has given certain rights for the religious groups. So here in article number 26, the keyword will be group. And article number 27 talks about tax which should not be paid for the promotion of any particular religion. So since it talks about taxation, tax, you can either use the word tax or taxation as the keyword here. And finally, Article 28 talks about religious instruction not to be provided in certain educational institution. So the dominant keyword of this Article 28 is religious instruction. So instead of memorizing all the articles, you can better and briefer quicker thing for you to remember this Article 28 is just remember the religious instruction. So it's important to use keywords to understand and to remember quickly and more easily each articles. So instead of memorizing and instead of just reading the entire, yes, you will need to read the text of Article 25, 26 and all of this, but in the exam you can use keywords to remember this. So this is how if you construct using keywords, it's going to be more easier and more convenient during examination. Now let's try to understand the detail of all of this four rights. First, article number 25, as mentioned in my previous slide, it talks about individual rights. So let me read the text of article number 25. Subject to public order, morality and health, and to the other provisions, all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and right to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion. So I've read the total content of article number 25. How to explain this? Article 25 talks about four provisions. First is conscience, profess, practice, and propagate. So I have taken it out to have a more simple understanding. Conscience, what is conscience? Conscience refers to your or my inner beliefs about religion. Your understanding about religion, your concept about God or spirituality, and so on and so forth. This is an absolute right of anybody, including citizens and non-citizens. The state, the government cannot interfere in any of these matters. This is a personal, internal matter of any individuals. So you're absolutely free to have any sort of relationship with God whatsoever. So the state has no right, no say in our personal inner belief. So that needs to be understood. The next talks about profess. So another word for profess is open declaration. So you have absolute right here also to openly declare and identify any religion as your choice or your religion. So the inner belief, the conscience which confessed it or which is opened and declared becomes open. So these are in step. First becomes obviously you need to activate your conscience. Second will be because that you like certain religion, you understood, and your inner personal beliefs tells you that this religion is right. Then you can openly declare to the outside world. So now you are telling the world that this is or this will be my religion. So for example, Christians can carry a cross or Bible to identify themselves with the religion of Christianity. So there is no problem in doing that. It is permitted that you can openly show others, identify yourself by carrying certain religious clothing or religious items to tell others that you are the follower of Christianity. So that is one example. The next example is the religion of Sikh. The followers of Sikhism can carry kirpan. So this is another important identification of Sikh religion. So that is another important right. And for the Islamic religion, the women of Islam can wear hijab. So these are all nothing but you are professing, you are declaring to the outside world that you are a follower of certain religion. So this is absolute right. No state, no government can interfere in this rights of our citizens. Now the next right that Article 25 talks about is to practice. So in other words, this is perform religious duty. So this is another absolute right promised by Article 25 to any citizen and non-citizen that resides in Indian territory. So here, religious rituals, This is performance in action, so it may be religious rituals or religious ceremonies, worship, prayer, fasting, or undertaking religious pilgrim. Anything can come under this practice. So these are, again, I'm going to repeat this. These are 3, 1, 2, and 3. These are all absolute right that any person in India can resort to. And the fourth, last one is propagate. This is a little debatable, a little bit there are some criticism. So I've written also as the most controversial item of article number 25 is to spread your religion to others who doesn't believe. So to teach your religious belief to others, or right to explain your religion to other non-followers, or right to even distribute religious literature or religious pamphlets, right to persuade others about your faith. So there are two things. One is acceptable, one is allowed and protected by the Constitution. What are those items which are allowed? So this may not be exhaustive, but let me mention some few items which are protected by the Constitution. Example number 1. Religious discourse and peaceful explanation about your religion to others. It is absolutely that's allowed. Number 2 is it is also allowed to distribute religious texts in the form of Bible, Quran, Kitab, whatever it is, and religious pamphlets, religious literatures to even non-followers of your religion. That is absolutely right. No state can interfere, or no state can restrict that to any person. And number 3 is that it is also equally acceptable to have open discussion or open debate about different religions in India. So the intention here can be to convince others. So this is protected by the Constitution. Debate is a debate. So it's a win-win thing for all the debaters. So these things comes under protected area of Article 25. So I'm mentioning again, these are not exhaustive, but just mentioning some few examples only. Going to the next article, we have article number 26, to manage religious affairs. So this is, as mentioned, this is group rights. So if you have a religious group or if you have a religious denomination, the right has been given to you by Article 26. So I'm reading the text for all of us. Subject to public order, morality and health, every religious denomination shall have the right. There are 4 rights are given: to establish and maintain institutions. So this is first right. So all the religious group has the right to establish and maintain institution. And also once you have established the institution, you have the right to manage its own affairs. That is also another right by virtue of Article 26. And for that institution, you can acquire movable and immovable property also for your religious institutions. And once you acquire those property, you have absolute right to administer such property. But one limitation is that you have to administer in accordance with the Constitution of India. So as per the law of the land. So these are what Article 26, the freedom to manage religious affairs, has been granted to the religious groups in India. Now Supreme Court have defined religious denomination as it should have a distinct name, and that a distinctive group should be organized with having certain distinct doctrine, and it should have a common followers. So if you are meeting all of these 4 criteria, you can definitely have a separate or a new religious denomination of your choice. Now let's discuss a little detail deeper on article number 26. So religious denomination, if you have one, you have the right, you have the power to do all this. So they can establish places of worship like temples, mosque or church or gurudwaras. So all the religious denominations, they have the right, they have the absolute liberty to establish places of worship. So this is the first right by virtue of Article 26 to the religious group. Now you can create religious schools and colleges and universities also. And this is the second one. Not just that, but open also charitable institutions such as hospitals and orphanages. So for the religious group, this is another important rights given by Article 26, and also form organizations and trusts. So the first right for all the religious denomination in India, they can have all this power and all this rights under this article. Next, they also have the right, as mentioned, to own and acquire property. So property can be movable, it can be immovable. So to own land and building, this is the first one. Very important for the religious denominations that is that they can have their own land and buildings. Purchase property, they can expand that property, land and building with property, so they can purchase property for religious purpose. Accept also has right to accept donations and endowments. So this is the second understanding, second rights extended to the religious group by Article 26. Now, right to manage religious affairs is also a very important rights granted to the religious group by Article 26, such as internal governance and administration of that religious denomination. You can have complete liberty or full freedom to appoint staff or religious officials or priests or pastors anyhow, and you have the liberty to appoint those in connection to your religious denomination. Next is deciding religious doctrines and practices. This is also an important rights been given to the religious group to conduct religious ceremonies and rituals whatsoever. This is your absolute right. No state can interfere in this one. And settling religious dispute within their community and the community, on the capacity of their community. So these are another important rights given by Article 26 to all the religious denominations in India. And to administer property. Now, if you have a property for your religion, how do you administer that property? Then in accordance with the law of the land, that is the constitution, it should such administration of property should come purely under the, it should not go variance to the law of the land, but in accordance with the constitution. State can regulate to prevent mismanagement. So in order to prevent this mismanagement, state can interfere in the regulation of that property, and audit and accountability requirements can also be applied. So discussing a little deeper on Article 26 has all of this criteria involved in these articles. Now, Article number 27, and earlier in the slide I have taken out tax or taxation as the keyword for this article number 27. So let's read this for all of us. No person shall be compelled to pay any taxes, the proceeds of which are specifically appropriated in payment of expenses for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious denomination. So this is the requirement of article number 27. So what this article prevents is, I have taken out 3. State cannot levy tax specifically for promotion of any particular religion. So it's mentioned any particular religion. So nobody should be taxed, the benefit of which should go to a particular religion. So that is the first the requirement. That is the first thing that we need to understand. Next is that tax revenue cannot be earmarked exclusively for religious purpose. That also is understood. And the citizens cannot be forced to financially support religions they don't follow. So that is also, I believe, that is also understood. So this article prevents those activities. What this article permits is that general taxation where profits go to consolidated fund, government grants to religious institutions from general revenue, and tax exemption for religious charitable institution. So these things are also understood, but let's keep in mind one line that you are free to pay any taxes. It's a freedom for you to pay any taxes, and the benefit or the promotion of the benefit for which is diverted for the promotion of any particular religion. And if that is the purpose, then you are free not to pay any taxes. So let's just understand Article 27 in that manner. And finally, we have article number 28, which are quite comprehensive. So I have transferred the articles. I've rewritten the articles here. So freedom as to attendance at religious instructions or religious worship in certain educational institution is what Article 28 is saying. So I've just shortened Article 28. So what we need to understand is there are 4 institutions mentioned in Article 28. So those 4 institutions, the only institution that prohibits completely the religious instructions in educational institution is those are fully or purely maintained or administered by the state, by the government. So in government school, government college, or government university, you are not required to give any educational religious instruction in any of those institutions which are totally owned and managed by the state. So here is a complete prohibition that we need to understand. The second institution is that institutions administered by the state but has been established under an endowment or trust which requires. So here I'm not reading the full text, but here it is permitted. Permission is there because the actual purpose for the establishment of such institution was to impart such instruction. So this is understood, this is allowed in protected also. The third one, institution recognized by the state. So this is also permitted but voluntary. Voluntary in the sense like if necessary, the state can interfere in that institutions. So permitted but any point of time. The safety, the security, the morality or the decency, health of the citizen of India, if that is undermined, then the state or the government are likely to interfere in that institutions. So institutions receiving aid from the state, they are also permitted in religious instruction, but any point of time that may be interfered by the state basing on the need and necessity. Now to finally wind up my lecture in this part of the fundamental rights, let's ask why government school or government colleges and universities are not allowed to have this religious instruction. So to understand this one, I have taken it out three points. So it will support this India's secular India's secular policy. So state must be secular in context of education. State must be secular. That is, let's understand the first the first point is that, okay. And the next is students from all religious attends government school. So government school is understood as they gives a free and compulsory education, especially in primary. It's free and compulsory education, 6 to 14 years, and in other upper educational institutions, comparatively with the private institution, governments are cheaper. So students from different religions are bound to come to the government school for receiving education. So we expect, the constitution expect that such government-run schools or colleges or universities should be free from religious instruction. So that is why in any of those institutions, this is a total ban. It's not allowed to have this religious instruction in such institutions. And the third is that government cannot decide children's religious education. So this can be left. You can go back to Article 25, which has given you freedom, conscience, profess, propagate, whatever it is. So you have your own understanding. So either individual or the parents or the family can decide about your children's religious education and not the government or not the state. So that is why in government institutions, religious instructions are not allowed. So with that, I finally come to an end of this part of my lecture. I'll see you all again in my next video. Until then, good night and thank you for watching.